I was going to try to talk like Bina, pretend to be Bina, but she'd find that incredibly offensive.
Yeah, do it anyways.
All of my British accents are so offensive. It's the best.
Hello, this is Bina 007 on the forums.
Do it.
That is not her. That is not her.
No, that was a Monty Python character.
Roy,
Hello everyone, welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave. This is the 12th meeting of the VOK Linear Reread series. Today we will be covering the rest of December 298 in our series, which covers Sansa V, Ned XV, Catelyn VIII, Tyrion VII, and Dany VII. My name is Greg, I'm claudiusthefool. What happened? Did I mess something up?
No, it sounded like bingo. Calling up bingo.
Oh.
Keep going, man.
Bingo!
I didn't know we were allowed to talk.
We're not, I'm just being an asshole. Keep going, Greg.
It's all right. I think I got that all out. My name is Greg. I'm claudiusthefool on the forums, and I will be trying to host this gaggle of vassals today. I'm joined by 6 other vassals. If you'd like to introduce yourselves in the assigned order.
I'm Adam, also known as Drownedsnow on the forums.
Hello everyone. This is Nadia, also Nadia on the forum.
And I am Zack. I go by Alias on the forums.
Crikey, I'm BrockTheBlack, and I go by Brock in real life.
Right, so I'm Matt. I'm Varley on the forums.
And finally, I'm David, ServingStarkRealness on the forums.
All right, so we have a couple new vassals today. Do you guys just want to go, just tell us a little about how you got into the podcast, how you got into Song of Ice and Fire, and what's your story? Brock, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I was watching should I start with the podcast, or like how I got the books first, or...
The whole thing. Just how you got into it in general.
Well, let's start with the books first. Well, one day I was watching Game of Thrones when I was 14. When the first season came out, and then I went and got the books, and I hated most of the characters. And I found the pod by I was trolling. I was surfing YouTube, so I was bored out of my skull one night, and I searched up Game of Thrones podcast, and you guys came up.
Can't tell you how weird that is that we just came up, but
it was the 9th page, but still.
Oh, okay,
sure.
That makes much more sense.
That's where we belong.
Yeah, and you guys didn't sound like most others who do the podcast who oh my god, Khaleesi is so hot, bro. Oh my god, she should sit the throne. People, do that. You actually put thought into what you say.
So you were 14 when you started watching the show?
Yeah, it would have been around the first season, I reckon. Or I'm 19 now. It would have been.
All right.
Sweet summer child.
Long live Dark Star.
And do you have a favorite character or least favorite character that you identify with?
I reckon Jaime or Tywin would be my favourite character, and my least favourite character by far is that nitwit Daenerys. I hope she dies.
You said Jaime or Tyrion, or Jaime or Tywin?
Jaime, did I say Tywin?
Oh, no, I wasn't sure.
Like Ty.
I don't think anyone's ever said Tywin is their favorite character before.
Dude, he's the best character, though. He's he thinks when he talks.
The bald lion.
No, this reread made me appreciate him a little bit more.
Except in the Tyrion chapter, just spoilers, he's such an idiot in the Tyrion chapter coming up.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
David, how about you?
Well, I started watching the show first. I really got into the books right after. I saw that there were actual books. During the theme song, it said A Song of Ice and Fire, written by George R.R. So I decided to try the books out, and they were infinitely better. And after I finished my second reread of the books, I actually started just looking through threads for theories and whatnot for other nerds like me to talk about A Song of Ice and Fire, because no one that I know reads these books. And then I found you guys on YouTube doing your Feast Dance review.
Perfect.
Another YouTuber.
This YouTube generation, I just don't understand it. There's YouTube celebrities? How's that a thing?
Because they
I'm
make
another
money.
youngling.
And do you have a favorite character?
Well, I definitely love the Starks, but my favorite is Sansa.
Wait a minute. Who's drinking that's not me?
Oh, you missed Dina.
It's me.
Nice.
Just going with a screwdriver this time. Sorry, I apologize in advance for the glasses.
The copper cup?
Yes.
It's like we're all sitting in a bar together.
Never apologize for what.
I'm actually drinking a pina colada. Alcohol free.
Are you caught in the rain?
Wow, it took 3 seconds for someone to make that reference.
Yep. It's obligatory.
It is. Should we jump into? Is there any Game of Thrones news or anything that you guys want to talk about?
There actually is Game of Thrones news, but are we going to talk about it?
Yeah, why not?
No.
Wait. You mean the pictures? Because I haven't done any of that.
Yeah, there are pictures.
Okay.
Maybe leave that.
We'll save that to the end if anyone doesn't want to be involved. Then we can, because I don't know if I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll do show talk spoilers or something like that, later.
Yeah, okay.
Because I know Nadia doesn't want
Yeah.
there are people listening who aren't watching anymore. So
Like Bina.
All right, so the chapters today pretty much cover the rest of December 298, which is, I think, the December 23rd all the way through the 31st of 298.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I believe Ned is riding in the cell on Christmas Day, so...
He's
Happy
loving
Get
it.
a white
Feast of the
Christmas.
Seven.
I don't know if we talked about this before, but are there holidays in Westeros? I don't remember any.
There has to be,
They've
because
come up.
how the hell do they keep their days and their... they don't have actually days of the week, I don't think.
Right.
So they have
Because
to,
it's like Christmas now, but it's like still like the end of summer. Like they have Harvest Day and like apparently like they'll throw a
Yeah, like
tourney
Midsummer's
like
Eve and all
when
that.
they think spring has come or something.
Yeah,
you know?
but like their days and stuff don't really go by the seasons, but it seems like they do have celebrations with the seasons sometimes.
Well, I thought that there would be more like festivals and stuff mentioned, because even in like ancient days where there in Rome where there was no like weekend, but there were like feast days, and there were every couple days there was some celebration that people used to mark the time, even though there were days of the week.
Doesn't Joffrey get married on the New Year, and that was like Aegon's Landing? Or
Yeah, that's
like
a big deal. Aegon's
Like the
Landing is kind of a
So
turn of the
I mean,
century
that's the
kind
only
of
one
thing.
that really comes to mind as like a fixed date of like.
Yeah. But it's come up before how George kind of goes out of his way not to give us that info because he doesn't want us nitpicking it, and because that's not really what it's about. He's telling the story, which I understand, but of course we want all the details that we can get.
But I could have
Plus,
sworn they've mentioned like some minor like days or feasts or something to do with the gods. I can't remember now.
There's Maiden's Day,
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
like where all the virgins go and hang out in the Sept all day.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
And
how do they
election
keep track
day
of
and
birthdays?
Galantis.
Hopefully that's every week, right?
aha.
Okay, so do you want us to get started with Sansa V, which is David? You want to do your recap?
Sure will. Just work my nerves through here. Alright, so Sansa attends the first court session under King Joffrey's reign. Cersei has an honor guard escort her practically everywhere she goes, whom Sansa quickly surmises are there to watch her every move. She attempts to greet several of the noble lords, but they all pretend to not notice her. Pycelle reads a long list of lords and ladies alike who are to present themselves at court and swear fealty to Joffrey. Among this list is her entire family. Once the list is finished, Cersei calls up Sir Barristan and proceeds to tell him that he is to retire from his role as Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Replacing him would be Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer. And Barristan protests that only death can relieve him of his duties, to which Cersei asks whose death, his or the King's. Joffrey accuses him for letting King Robert die and claims that he's too old to protect anyone. The council ignores Varys's protests. Varys tells him that he will be promised landed servants to attend him. This does not placate Selmy whatsoever, and he removes his cloak and armor, stating that he will die as a knight. Littlefinger, being the piece of shit that he is, quips a naked knight, it would seem. This entire room bursts into laughter as Sansa's heart goes out to the wounded man. Barristan draws his sword and throws it at Joffrey's feet, delivering one of the biggest reads in the series. Hey boy, melt it down and add it to the others, if you like. It will do more good than in the swords in the hands of these five. Perhaps Lord Stannis would chance to sit on it when he takes your throne. He storms out, and an angry Joffrey calls for his arrest. After the debacle, the herald asks if there's any more business to attend. Then Sansa musters up the courage to speak to the king and council, summoning strength from the thought of her lady mother. She begs Joffrey to have mercy on her father, claiming that he must have been misled by Lord Renly. She even attributes Ned's pain and the effects of Milk of the Poppy to being the reason why he said Joff was not king. So Joffrey tells her he will grant mercy on her father so long as he confesses and publicly recognize him as king. He will, Sansa said, heart sewing. Oh, I know he will. And her life goes to shit after that.
See, Matt, that's a recap.
That was pretty great.
Oh, really?
I
I
feel
was like, stuttering all over the place.
Very good.
You can stay.
Yeah,
We'll
but
stay for one more chapter.
He put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllables in debacle and another word I forget.
Glad you're keeping an
Shut
eye
up.
out for that stuff.
Don't nitpick. I'm new here, okay? I'm
You can
nervous.
say debacle if you want. It's all right.
That's all we know how to do is nitpick. So
Right. I mean, you're in the family now, so
I get to be picked on. Little brother
yeah.
here.
I had one little thing that kind of stood out for me just right off the bat when they were going over the titles for Cersei, and she gets the title Light of the West. Have we heard this before, or do we ever hear this again?
Yeah.
Because
I
it's
don't
jumped out
think
to me a
so.
little bit.
It's later mentioned, like when she's Queen Regent after Tywin's died. Like that's mentioned a bunch in like a feast for crows.
And there was another thing that stood out to me. Did anyone notice when Sansa was walking towards the throne, everyone was sort of turning away from her, and Dontos started to speak to her, but then Belon Swan sort of whispered in his ear, and he turned away. And then again, as Littlefinger was coming in, he also stopped to talk to Bell Swan and Dontos. So is there any significance to that? Is Balon Swan also sort of reporting to Peter Baelish?
I just thought that Balon Swan and Dantos were in the same spot. I guess, I don't know. Maybe were having some kind of Littlefinger adjacent conversation.
Yeah, but it's mentioned like twice. So I was wondering if there was any significance to that.
Well, maybe Baelish was like, "Hey, fucking Dantos, be cool. I know you're drunk, but let's not give away this game yet."
I found it very interesting that Dantos was mentioned so early in the series. I thought he just kind of popped up in book 2. It kind of just shows that George R.R. Martin had plans to use his character for Sansa's theme.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, because he does that a lot on the rereads. I've realized that a lot with some characters that we don't even remember the first time through because you're just reading it for the story, and then on the rereads you realize all this was in his head. But
loose ideas of characters that he wanted. I want to throw some shit out there so that when I bring it up later, I can use this character maybe for A, B, or C, maybe and then now that character exists.
I reckon it's more that he just has a bunch of names written down where they are, like these people are in King's Landing. So when he later decides, who can do what, he just looks at the big list. Because have you seen those things where it's how he originally wanted Game of Thrones to end?
Yeah, it's
the author's notes,
the letter,
whatever. Yeah. You see, he clearly didn't have it planned out 5 books in advance when he wrote this chapter. He wouldn't have had the plan. He probably just said Sir Dontos. Does it describe? I can't remember. I read the chapter earlier today. Does it describe Sir Dontos?
They call him a happy drunk. Yeah, fat funny drunk kind of thing. So he had
that's the thing during the editing process too. You could be I need to add 3 or 4 characters in or something. Just real quick mention.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We do get a lot of characters in these chapters. There's definitely a huge info dump on characters in the ones that we have for today.
And some of them never come back.
So we also get the list of all the lords who are going to be rewarded and the ones who have to come swear fealty, otherwise they're going to, be attainted. And we do get a lot of name dumps, as Zack said. We also get that Cersei has been named to the small council, and the lords don't seem to like this. But I don't know, I couldn't tell what they liked less, was Slint being raised or Cersei being on the small council, because they didn't seem to like either of that too much.
And partially who's naming them, right?
Officially, Joffrey's doing it.
Yeah, Joffrey's naming them, but he's not, Cersei. Right? Yeah, so
the small council consents.
Yeah.
So who actually comes and does fealty? Because they list off everyone who never shows up. The Tyrells finally do, but that's only after Renly's death, right?
Yeah. Well, the war hasn't officially started yet. This is day 1 or day 2, I guess.
But Renly, they call Renly, Stannis, everyone that they're about to fight against. Yeah.
Right.
This is a big old dick measuring move right here. This is hey, everybody, show up and bow to me, and no one does it, and this doesn't matter. Because no one does it, it doesn't matter.
One I think is interesting is you mentioned Doran Martell, who is not an antagonist ever. He's not openly opposed like the Riverlands and the North end up being, but he never swears fealty. I don't think.
Says Oberyn,
I think they've been worried about the Martells for 15 years, so they're just lumping him in with everyone else they're worried about now.
No, I reckon the Lannisters would, still remember that this guy has a huge stick up his ass for Lannisters. He wants to kill all the Lannisters. They've got to know.
And the proclamation is just it's a table setter, right? Because let's say there is no war or things go a bit differently. Now you've sent a command to this guy, and he's in the position of disobeying it, which could put him now I have just cause to do whatever. Well,
I guess what I'm saying is
he's going to come to me. He's in rebellion.
He doesn't ever do it, so technically he is disobeying it, but they never do anything.
But it's not to their advantage to press that.
Yeah, but
sure,
no one
that's what
else
I'm
listed
saying.
off does.
It seems like a meaningless gesture in that case. It seems like they're not going to actually do anything about the people that don't swear fealty. Also, Lysa Arryn, I don't think she ever swears fealty, but they never are antagonistic with her.
Yeah, and they never try to we need to deal with this veil thing because they want her on their side.
I don't think so. But the Martells never bent the knee to Robert, and we're all under. We know that Joffrey's a Lannister, but he's technically a Baratheon.
Well, not in person. They never bent the knee to him in person, but Jon Arryn did go down there and smooth things over. He spent a year in Dorne.
Yeah, they are loyal they were loyal to Robert. Mm-hmm. They were part of his kingdom. They weren't directly opposed.
Well, I found it interesting that when they brought up Sansa's family, especially Arya, she just pretty much thought that Arya went to Winterfell already and that she should be safe. Did she just consider her dead by then, or?
Well, she thinks she got away on the boat with Ned. Well, not with Ned, but on the boat they had planned to get her out of there. That's what she says, right? That she got off on the galley.
Yeah.
But like they knew about the galley, like, and Sansa would know that.
I don't think she knew that because she was. I mean, the whole
Why
thing
would she
happened
know
very
that?
fast.
Arya only figured it out when she actually reached it.
Well, but Sansa's the one that told them about the galley, right?
Yeah,
so
but she doesn't know that they're that nefarious. Like, I don't know. She might have thought that she got away. Like, she doesn't know what happened to Arya at all.
She doesn't know what happened, but like she has to assume with everything that's going on, they didn't let her leave. Like they weren't going to let that ship leave.
But I think what she thought is that
she's
it
kind of
somehow got
innocent,
away
but-
before the Lannisters got to it. I think that's what she was thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
think.
is it this chapter or the chapter before where she's like, "Oh, I never even thought about Arya."
It's the chapter before, I think.
Yeah.
It was like her last thought before going to bed.
It was the last one where she's like, "Oh yeah, Arya, I have a sister."
Yeah, I mean, the other big thing is Barristan's dismissal, which, for me, I'm an unapologetic Stannis supporter, and I think it's really, I don't know if it probably was intentional. The way that George introduces Stannis' character is to have all these characters talk about him, a book before you ever actually meet him on the page. Because I feel like if he just showed up on the page in Clash of Kings, no one would like him. A lot of people don't like him anyway, but, Ned sent the letter to him. Barristan basically says he's the rightful king. Later on, Varys says Stannis' claim is true. And, it sort of hyped him up a little bit, and especially when Barristan says, maybe Stannis will take the city, that kind of solidified it for me. Like, I like the guy.
Well, hold on, Greg.
What?
Barristan never goes to Stannis. He never offers to join him. He doesn't.
Oh, I know that, but in
Rightful
this
king.
moment of heat, he says, maybe he'll take your city.
And we know that Barristan respected Stannis, but
Sure, he respects him, but he never joins him. I think if he truly thought he was the best guy for the job, he would have gone to him. But it just seems like it was like a
didn't mean to
throwaway.
say
line.
Maybe at this point he just hasn't decided who he's going to swear his allegiance to.
yeah, I think
He
he
didn't
takes
think
some
before
time
the
to think
second
about
that he
it.
was going to be dismissed. He didn't know that.
I think Varys must have gotten in with him and figured something out, and that's what convinced him to go to Dany instead.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. Helped him get out of the city. Helped him get across the narrow sea. Because Barristan.
Did he really help him get out of
the
the
No, Barristan fucking killed like 3 dudes with a spear to get out of the city, and then
Yeah, but he does
entered
end
the
up with-
city to see.
Yeah. Nobody gets out of King's Landing without Varys helping you in some way.
Right.
Like, yeah,
and
like-
he ends up
He was
with-
throwing
Like, drug
he
the
was
guy.
throwing banana peels on the ground right before those guards went to take it.
And like he may have said, "Look, you got to fight your way to this ship, over here. Like, here's your way out, but you got to get there," sort of thing.
Ultimately, Varys must have been involved because he ends up with Illyrio. He must have been helping him out in some way.
Yeah. So, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think there's a chance that he would have gone to Stannis, but I think in his head, everything he kind of never really felt right. I guess, after the Targaryens fell. And so this is sort of like he's old. He wants to sort of reclaim that old honor. Because if he just goes to Stannis, because Stannis is technically, next in line, sort of. Like he probably feels like the same kind of sellout,
Oh yeah, he's 0 for 3 with King, so he's going to try a queen.
I wonder what do we ever get what Stannis thought of Barristan? Because Barristan obviously kind of he goes over from Aerys over to Robert, and that could be seen as kind of a disloyal.
Well, doesn't when
But only after Aerys is
Stannis
dead.
hears about this, right? And Stannis, isn't it mentioned they're he hasn't shown up here or something, or he thinks he might be
assumes
coming.
he's coming, right?
And then he never shows
Oh, right,
up.
yeah. So he wants him, obviously. So
Yeah.
poor Stannis
Actually-
never gets what he wants.
Yeah.
Back to the Varys thing helping him escape. Maybe Varys didn't help him escape. So remember, he was on the small council, so he would have been hearing all these whispers coming back from Varys, where oh no, he's with this guy called Illyrio in Pentos, that because that's where he was last known to be before he took off with the Dothraki.
But I'm just thinking more of having money and arranging travel, and that's Barristan holds a sword, and not that he couldn't manage that sort of thing, but without people noting, he just fucking disappeared.
But he
Barristan
does tell
fucking
you
guy
how.
He appeared really
disappears.
fast. He grew the
Right.
But he does tell you how he managed to get to Pentos, though. He talks about how, in Dance, after he escapes the city, he ditches all his stuff, dresses up like a begging brother, and begs on the streets for a week. He was there when Ned got his head chopped off. He was in the crowd.
Right, but it's never really discussed
Well,
how he became squire to Strong Belwas and stuff like that. It's just he became squire to Strong Belwas.
Yeah. I
Obviously.
assume that was all post-Pentos, because they couldn't have...
Well,
before then.
Right.
We're in his head, and we never think when he's thinking about like, oh, everyone's treacherous, I hate everyone. Doesn't he think like he hates? Doesn't he actually like think at one point how much he hates Varys because that's when the corruption started in King's Landing? Or am I thinking of another character? I remember one character's like it all started with Varys. Varys made it 1,000,000 times worse because he was always whispering in the king's ear, and it made everyone become corrupt.
Yeah, you might be right. I have to look, but even if that were true, I think that it's clear that Barristan is willing to work with people he doesn't like. And I think if it was explained to him, it was for Daenerys, and he got in on that plan, he'd be willing to work with Varys. He works with him when he's in King's Landing. He works with Ned, who he's not a fan of too much either. I mean, he respects him, but he's got issues with him. And of course, Ares, he follows him. And he's a despicable person.
And doesn't he mention that Illyrios is the one that sent him and Belwas to Dany?
Yep,
So
that
he has to
definitely
be working
happens.
with Varys, I think.
Well, when he originally set out, Viserys was still alive though, wasn't he?
No.
No,
They couldn't. I don't think they knew. No,
No, but he thought he was still alive when he originally set out from Pentos, didn't he?
I don't
Wasn't
think so, because I don't think he would have sent him...
No, you're right,
sent
because the
them
ship
to protect
arrived in...
Dany.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's dead already, so.
Yeah, but like news travels slowly.
I wonder how quickly news travels to Illyrio. Yeah, because he's a bit closer, but yeah.
He's also a Merling that.
And have you seen where like...
So there will be no
Yeah.
Merling
There are
talk, there
no-
will be no Merling talk, there will be no Stanza talk while I'm hosting,
There are no
so we're just going right over that.
That's fair enough.
But Sansa talk, but I'm
No.
here.
I know, but I'm sorry, because it makes my head hurt.
If we somehow got onto Stanza when he's not even in this book, that would be seriously impressive.
And Queen.
But there's plenty of Stannis in this chapter, even though he's not here.
Yeah,
Fair
no.
enough.
And there's Sansa, of course, so.
No, I
Also
just thought,
true.
yeah, I just like the fact that everyone is mentioning him, and then, not that I felt underwhelmed when he actually showed up, but the fact that it's through a Davos lens, that's, Crescent and then Davos, I always thought that was an interesting way, and to never make him a POV character was very smart also.
So
Any
he
thoughts
can
on
die later.
Do we have any thoughts on the whole the precedent being set that someone who's not a knight can be elevated to the Kingsguard? Does that matter to anybody? Anything to say about that?
Well, we know Dunk's not a knight, but no one else knows that.
True.
It probably could
I don't think
night
Cersei
afterwards.
particularly cares about precedence.
Yeah, all
She
she cares
just-
about is just promoting her family.
And the whole line about how she let 3 kings die, it's all BS.
Is there any precedence for people being removed from the Kingsguard?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, Barristan.
Because
He's the one.
Well,
But
Yeah.
before Barristan,
Being removed.
And then Tywin plans to have Jaime removed so that he can become his heir again.
but like,
That's post-Barristan, though.
not retired though. People have been removed from the Kingsguard, like they've betrayed the king. Like, plenty of that.
Right,
happened.
that slept with the queen and then got
Point,
everything
Aaron.
removed before his head was chopped off.
That was
No, it was the one-
Luckamore the Lusty.
Yes, he was. He cheated. He had it off with a bunch of hookers in the streets. When the Sworn brothers found out about it, they gelded him and sent him to the wall.
Yeah,
That's
if you
another-
break your vows, I think that would be a reason to dismiss you. But if you've done nothing wrong, it's a very bizarre new thing for like, oh, you're too old, fuck off.
Well, they're saying that he let the kings die, which is, King
It's
Jaehaerys
bullshit.
died of an illness. He was fighting on the Trident for Aerys, and how do you protect your drunk king against a boar? So,
But I guess like there aren't very many old Kingsguard. It's like they I don't know. Like it seems like they
They all
all
died
died in
during the-
battle or something. Or yeah, like
was
it like this
Grandison
problem
is the
hasn't
only
come
one that
up
we
as
know
much.
that died.
It wasn't Gerald Hightower old. I mean, he wasn't exactly old, but he was.
He wasn't
I
even.
don't think he was this old.
He was
Yeah,
the
he was-
old bull, wasn't he? So he must have been over the hill at least. Which
He had
in this world is
his
26.
AARP card. Yeah.
I mean, that should be a mark in your favor, though, right? If you can live that long in such a dangerous profession, that should be. I guess I don't know. You get slower, so.
But you would think this would have come up at some point, but maybe like they keep entering tournaments and eventually, if you're old, you break a rib and die or something. I don't know. And then it's just not an issue. I guess outside of wartime, it's really not an issue, like to have the Kingsguard, because the Kingsguard end up being like they protect the royal family, but sometimes they act as, lieutenants and generals in your stead. So like in peacetime, it's, if you're short a guy, it's not a big deal. You've got your house guards, you've got, whatever.
Right, you have assholes like Marin Trant, like that.
Boris Blunt.
Yeah, that have won no renown except that they're in Cersei's pocket.
Yeah, the Kingsguard is terrible now. Like this.
Well, the current
Kingsguard
Kingsguard is
just
pretty
terrible.
awful. We know that.
Yeah.
I mean, Balon Swan is the bright shining star in the Kingsguard, and he's just like an average knight. Like that's
Well,
the
Loras
he's-
Tyrell.
Yeah, but he's new, and he hasn't had
He
it.
hasn't done much.
I mean,
but I think,
Jaime
I
and
think
Varys-
He's
he's
probably got an agenda.
whatever damage to the Kingsguard, like their reputation or their traditions, letting Barristan go does, it's not as much as the current class is doing.
I think it's a pretty big deal to let him go, though.
At the same time, Barristan gets like the best like Kingsguard 401k like retirement plan. Like he gets a castle, servants,
a hall to die in.
Yeah,
it's not hard to beat dying in service.
Right, exactly. He's pretty set up.
But yeah, I think actually Barristan going is a pretty huge moment for the Kingsguard, because he really is. I mean, you can talk about Jaime, but he really is the last of the old guard that has all the reputation and all the respect. Like him being gone, it kind of is the final nail in the coffin. Like this Kingsguard is just worthless. It doesn't matter anymore.
Well, you get that, and also, you realize that he's put up with Jaime being a Kingsguard this whole time, to keep face up, basically. But the second where you find out that he's being elevated, he's like the Kingslayer. This guy actually killed a king. You're going to make him commander of the Kingsguard. That's where he really washes his hands of everything.
Yeah, and then Jaime like really reflects in later books, like, man, this really went to shit while I was here. Who are these people? Anyway.
Only other thing I had for this chapter was we're told several times that Sansa is wearing all black, and when she's goes to make her obeisance to Joffrey, she kneels on the white cloak, which is supposed to be unsullied, and she's kneeling on that to make sure her black dress doesn't get dirty. I don't know if that means anything, but the whole black and white symbolism jumped out at me a little bit.
Never thought about it.
Yeah, probably means nothing. Just trying to make some smart connection there.
What do you guys think of the fact, just like on the Kingsguard for a second, like what do you guys think of the fact that a lot of these people were Robert's Kingsguard? Like
so
a few of them.
Cleaning house.
Yeah. She brings them in, but like looking at Robert's Kingsguard, the people that he appointed, Jaime.
Well, Jaime was appointed
Barristan.
by the Mad King.
I know, but the people that he was okay with having as his Kingsguard. Like you don't see a lot of the greatest swordsman in the land sort of thing, and for a
Jaime
guy
is legitimately the greatest swordsman in the land.
But he wasn't he was Ares.
Yeah, but look at all the people that he had to have appointed, right? He had to fill the rest of the ranks, and all of those people are just kind of
Also, there's no
Cersei's
replacing.
people, right?
You can't replace the three of the greatest Kingsguard with it. Whoever came next would not hold a candle.
Sure,
so,
But I mean, Robert's this war hero that knows everyone who has any battle prowess that doesn't, that isn't going to be inheriting or whatever. He should have had the best swords in the land, and it doesn't seem like that's what he had.
So that is odd. I think Matt has a point that it's pretty clear that I don't think Robert really was involved in the decision process this time around. I think it was Cersei or the small council that were making the calls on these guys. But you're right, Adam. It's weird that Robert, being who he is, wouldn't want to take a more active role in deciding who would end up in his Kingsguard.
Because, I kind of wish that we get a story right after the rebellion, there were actually 2 or 3 other guys, and they were killed in the intervening time or something, that were much more renowned. We have nothing like that. So
I also feel like Robert's the kind of guy that's like, I don't give a shit about Kingsguard. Someone wants to kill me, let them. I'll fucking kill them.
That's very true.
That's fair. Bro. He didn't think he needed a Kingsguard, I guess. Yeah.
It's I'm going to hire a bunch of women just to make it more challenging.
Well, Aegon the First didn't think he needed a Kingsguard either until his sister proved him wrong.
I'm just going to say, I said not everyone wants to be a Kingsguard.
It's true.
Yeah.
The benefits are pretty bad.
I don't want to go work. I don't want to be the Prime Minister's bodyguard for a living.
It's true. But then again, if you look at Ares' Kingsguard, one of the shittiest kings, and he had an amazing Kingsguard.
Right.
But I think that's why.
Sword of the Morning, Hightower went.
Backstab Jaime.
Yeah. Well,
it's kind of a
Jaime wasn't even anything at the time. Yeah.
Or 6 for 7.
It's kind of a self-fulfilling thing, though, in that way, because the office was prestigious because these people were in it, and that's why people wanted to be a part of it, because it was it was a good thing to be a part of at the time. Because it had such a high reputation, but now that it's so polluted and so messed up, it's no one cares about it anymore. No one has any desire to be a part of it. So you never get good people because they don't think it's worth it. But then it's not worth it because you never have good people, right? It's it's just a vicious cycle.
It's similar to the Wall, I think, right? Originally, a bunch of knights would go up there and become brothers. And now it's just rapists and thieves and a couple knights here and there.
Well, why would you want to join the Night's Watch?
To watch the night?
To defend the realm from the darkness.
to rape young Danny Flynn.
The Oath is kind of cool,
The Oath
it's even cooler
is
in the
epic.
books.
if you're young and got nothing else to do, I don't know.
There's a
Three Finger
giant
Hob
running
makes
at
some
you.
great food. Three Finger Hob makes some amazing stuff with the stories that he's wasting.
If it was something where it's like if you're not a prisoner and you can commit to the Night's Watch and it's like a 5-year term, like a military service or something, if that's what it was, like you would see a lot more people going up there, like whatever, and then you leave with experience and you can go into the private sector. But no, it's not like that anymore.
No, but it's more like for guys like Whitemore Royce, that's like the third son of a big house. Like he's not going to get shit. He might as well try his luck and become Lord
He's
Commander.
forever going to be in the guest house of like his third in the line brother.
Or he could just start murdering his
hanging out.
siblings.
They're never going to marry him to anyone important.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for Sansa, or we can move on to Catelyn?
Onward.
All right. So now we move, going back 2 chapters, but we're going ahead 2 days to December 25th. So Christmas Day, and Brock, you've got the recap for this.
Rightio. Cat arrives in White Harbour and finds out that Robb has raised the banners and is currently chillaxing like a baller at Moat Cailin. Pause for laughter. So Cat and the Blackfish accompany the Manderleys to Moat Cailin. Oh, and she also sends Sir Roderick to go lose Winterfell in the next book or something. The Blackfish...
Spoilers.
Whatever. The Blackfish is unimpressed by Moat Cailin, but Cat straight up lies to him, telling him that it's more formidable than it looks. When she gets to Robb, Ruse asks her if she still has Tyrion, but she doesn't. She also recalls how she offered to foster Sweet Robin, but Lysa told her to go fuck herself. Robb wanted to swap Tyrion for the girls, but now their only hope is to capture Tywin. Robb then fills in Cat on the battle at the Golden Tooth, where Jaime defeated Lords Vance and Piper. Meanwhile, Tywin has brought up a large host from the south and is currently doing fuck all with it. Roose thinks Tywin won't come north, but instead take his vast host of 30,000 men to go take it in. Robb argues that he can't stay at Moat Cailin because supplies or whatever. He also thinks that he should give half the army to the Great John because he's loyal. Cat, however, thinks this is a stunningly bad idea and soon convinces him to give half his army to their Roose Bolton. Then she talks the phrase and decides to go south with Robb. That's it.
Yeah, so we get Moat Cailin, which is this big badass ruin, but still does its job. I'm just trying to think of how formidable this place is with 3 broken towers. What was the point of having 20 towers if you only need 3 to defend this place?
Well, the 3 are useless. They instantly get taken every time someone attacks it.
No,
it's
like the Iron Balls. Like they're just describing there's 3 towers. Why can't the towers shoot from the north or the south or the east or the west?
Well, the reason why it's so formidable is not the towers.
The
it's the fact, the causeway and the fact that it's so hard to traverse. That's why it's a formidable fortress. It has nothing to do with the towers.
There's literally a causeway running through the center of it, and
if you're
you go
approaching
off that road, you're in the swamp and you're getting bit by.
Yeah, and if you approach from the south, it's perfect.
See, but then when Moat Cailin was built, there was no swamp, right? It was the owner of the forest brought down the wrath of the gods or whatever.
That's a theory.
The children of the forest couldn't build anything. They lived in houses made out of leaves.
But there were giants there, right? But there were giants before people came. The Tower of the Children was where the children lived. Like that's where they wrought the magic.
Right. It was built by the first man, though.
I assume it was just a myth. Like that's just what they started. That's what they just said. How I don't know, Santa Claus.
The men created Moat Cailin to protect the King's Road through the swamp.
So it's sort of like
right,
like maybe like Easter Island or Stonehenge versus like Hadrian's Wall, right? One we still don't quite understand, the other one we know what happened. And
aliens.
Obviously,
of course,
obviously.
I do wonder why Moat Cailin was never repaired. I guess part of its appeal, part of its actual quality as a fortress is that it's so fucked up because there's moss all over it and it's hard to get past. But I wonder, I don't know why Ned or anybody didn't these towers could be fixed. Let's send some masons down there and fix that right up. Why didn't he do that?
Or we could just put a wall in between the towers. That way they'd have to bring a ram up to get past so that archers can kill even more people.
Well, no, because, during this time, it's time of peace. You can freely travel the King's Road, right?
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just repair your shit just because it's there? If you have the money to do it.
Catelyn mentioned that it's been in decay for the past 1,000 years. Doesn't she say this used to be great, but that tower over there collapsed 1,000 years ago, and the realm was only united 300 years ago.
But it seems like there's really no strategic value to repairing it because it already works really well.
That's what I'm saying.
What it needs to do. So if you're we need to protect against invasion from the north, and the thought is hey, if they're invading the north, we've got bigger problems than Moat Cailin. It's worthless. Once they get past it, no one goes to take back Moat Cailin unless you're trying to resecure the north.
Right. I think once they're united as 7 kingdoms, it's Oh,
It becomes a curiosity at that point. Even
But it was
though
already,
it's not.
but it was already collapsing a thousand years ago. So yeah, that's excusable for 300 years. But what about the other 700 years where they did nothing? Where they were at war with the Riverlands every other day, or were they at war with everyone else?
Well, because again,
Northerners are so lazy.
It still worked.
Because
Yeah,
that's
like the
the
Northern Kings, it still worked for what he needed it for.
Yeah, and I think the North wasn't really at war with like the Riverlands or the Westerlands as much as it was with itself. So like
Yeah.
Oh.
because
And what
because
about-
I mean the Riverlands aren't like, oh, the North sounds like a great place where fucking winter lasts forever and fucking we get summer snows. Let's go there. Like
No, you're right. It's a carryover from when it was the first men. It was not the dawn, whatever the second age of the world was.
right.
But it's really like it served its purpose then, and occasionally it serves a purpose now when the realm's at war. But it's not. That's not what it was made for.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think if you had the time, you'd want to maintain your wall. I guess I don't know.
That and you actually get the taxes from from a third of the continent. I mean, sure, it's sparsely populated, but still, like, you have a lot of money. The Starks have a lot of money. They could just like hire some
Do the
stonemasons.
Starks have
quarry-
a lot of money?
They have
They've
a
got,
lot, but-
they've got a lot of wheat. I don't know how much money.
like
they
you're
have.
talking
I don't
about.
know.
Like think about
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They
I
have-
don't
Hold
think
on.
very rich in the conventional sense.
Well, they're not as rich as the Lannisters, but they still have like just a load of cash running around. I mean, what do they really spend their money on? I mean, upkeep
Yeah,
and that.
what,
But
are
they point
what are they raising money from though?
not dying in the winter. That's what they spend their
Yeah.
money.
little trades, I reckon they get most of their income from trade, most likely. Like Whiteheart. Like they point out that no, they did point out that like in A Clash of Kings that the Starks had a vault full of silver, like because Theon gives just a bunch to Reek
Yeah, because
to
it's
go
White
and like
Harbor.
raise more swords.
Well, yeah, White Harbor.
It's not that
has-
White Harbor's.
No, but I'm talking about at Winterfell. They point out like that, like Theon's like, I gave a bunch of silver to Reek. He said he's going to go. He'll find some men, pay them the money, and they'll quickly dart back here before the Stark forces arrive. So there would have been a nut. Like I mean, like I doubt. Like I wouldn't listen to the army if some
all,
guy.
all of the great
had
houses have
$20.
to have some money put away. But
Right. You send down like some of your harvest down to King's Landing, you get some silver back.
Silverback, that's the
But why would-
the Nickelback tribute band.
Why would the North
please.
be sending food and everything to King's Landing when they have to store it for winter? Because they're
As
not
a
going to
tribute.
be doing anything in winter.
Yeah, they still have to pay taxes.
Right, there's levies, I'm sure, like of some kind.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Glad we settled
okay.
that.
Okay,
So,
I was in the
anyway.
wrong.
Catelyn, what about Catelyn?
Oh yeah, this is a Catelyn chapter. This is
Jenna,
just a Mo Catelyn chapter. So is it built out of the same oily black stone that's the squishy people made everywhere else? It's black basalt, we know that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't either.
Cthulhu
Cat
lives in
gets-
that swamp,
she
actually.
gets so close to just going home and not bothering anyone for the rest of this book.
If only she did that. If only she did that.
If only she was
Seriously.
at Winterfell to prevent it from being taken over.
I used to
continue,
think
yeah, I was just gonna
I
bring
used
them
to like be a very anti-cat, like she started everything, but I convinced myself, I put myself in her shoes. She thinks Tyrion is responsible for the murder of her son. She has an opportunity to make amends in her eyes, and she takes it. I can't really blame her for that. Everything else that happened after that was a snowball spiraling out of control. Yes, she started it, but it's a decision. I don't know if any of us honestly would have made a different one. You would have just let that go and just sat in the inn and let it all go.
Yeah, and if she was in Winterfell, you'd trust her to protect it a little better, to not let Roderick run off with so many men, to handle the political situation better.
There's so many things you couldn't have foreseen. I mean, yeah, you
Yeah,
can place the blame
it's a
on Caitlyn,
perfect-
but
a
it's
perfect
just
storm.
exactly. It's not something that she could have possibly anticipated or like hoped or intended to happen. She's not really at fault.
Did anyone else find it weird that Brynden had never been to Mount Caelan in all his years, like as a military man and just traveling? Yeah, I mean, it's not that far from the river.
No, because you'd have to stop at the twins on the way up, and they don't want
that's
to do
true.
that.
Go there.
Just the phrase keep you from sightseeing in the north.
Hey, want to marry one of my daughters? Oh gosh, no, I need to get out
This
of here.
again, jeez. All right, yeah.
Oh, what is it? Pink Walder? We used to go up and see him.
You had one job.
That Gatehouse Amy, son.
Yeah, Kat was very astute when she flat out said that some of your men may go over to the Lannisters, which ends up happening if you don't show strength and if you don't make the right decisions right off the bat. And does anyone think that the second that she showed up without Tyrion, that's when Roose Bolton started his plotting before the war even started?
Probably.
Probably. Oh no, I reckon like he probably didn't start plotting then, but I think his moves were always like he was always planning to do what was best for him and not the realm.
Yeah, but I can see him like rolling his eyes when he was like, "Oh, jeez,
Oh, no,
great."
so
He's like, well, time to send out some ravens.
But it was Kat who basically put him in charge, like you said. Which I mean, I didn't really remember that from my my original read. So you can blame her for that if more than taking
half
Tyrion
the
and starting
army.
the war.
Which,
Half
I mean,
the army.
But who
Well-
else would they have sent? I mean, Roose is the smartest of the bannermen, isn't he?
No, it seems
He's-
like a good decision at
yeah,
the time,
yeah.
but I've said that about some pretty bad things that have happened.
and it's also a part of the army that's like the most at risk.
Yeah, I think what they should have done is put someone competent with Roose to keep an eye on him. Probably, if they don't trust him, they should have someone to rein him in, right?
Well, they don't mean don't trust him. They're just
The
scared of him.
Glovers were with.
Yeah, but clearly that
right?
didn't work out. They didn't do anything about
But
Roose.
who would you put, like Karstark or?
Dude, Great John.
No one.
No.
I mean, the Great John is way too, bombastic.
He's a great
and-
number
But
two.
he'd die fighting though. The army would be gone. But Roose does nothing with the army anyway. So
You
he
just
sits
made my
apparent.
point. The army
Yeah,
would
right.
be gone, but
Yeah, but most
No,
of
I mean-
Tywin's army would be gone too. Though.
The wall.
Jamie's army's out of the equation.
I mean,
He'd maybe have
ideally-
10,000 men left, and then you could probably just beat him in a fair fight. Then
I mean, if Manderley was on the field, I would think him because I believe he brought most, aside from the Starks, he probably brought most of the soldiers and the men to it. They said he had some like 1,500 men that he showed up with just with his sons.
Well, he had most of the knights, right?
Right.
So, I
Yeah,
mean, besides
the knights and
foot
the
soldiers, that
Mounted cavalry.
If only the Manderleys could ride horses. Or
Oh,
Too many eels.
only Wyman can't.
Yeah, these other guys are a few eels off, but they're good for now. I always wondered why eels was such a delicacy. Apparently,
I don't want to talk about eel. I don't want to talk about eel.
All right.
Lampreys. We don't have to.
use
talk
or
about
lampreys.
Oh no.
Those teeth. I mean, it's pretty quick, but this is basically the jumping off point of the. We get the whole tactical situation as to what's gone on, how Edmure's been captured, which I completely forgot that he got captured, and then they rescue him later on when they retake River Run.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we can debate whether or not the Roose thing was smart, but I think this is the chapter where you really see Catelyn being a pretty able tactician and politician. Kind of, she kind of helps Rob navigate these waters and figure out what to do and to situate him in a good spot. And I think that, I don't know, it seemed like she knew what was up.
But she did it in a way where she made it seem that he was the one making the, coming up with the ideas. Even though you're in her head and she knows it, she's letting him basically make the decisions and be like, "Oh, this is a good idea. Oh, yes, I agree. That is a good idea."
yeah,
Yeah.
didn't she say something like I have to show him this, but not tell him it
Yeah.
or something?
Because it would damage his pride or his confidence. That's what it would damage his fledgling confidence.
Right. His confidence does a lot.
And we also get the Howland Reed name drop here, where they talk about, if the Lannisters try to come up the neck, then Howland Reed would bleed them dry.
How come Reed doesn't just show up with a small force and or just give a small force over to help with the army? Why does he?
I think he's
why
more
is he-
valuable in this capacity to stay in the swamps and do that. He's not
Yeah, but
a...
he can still send
Battle.
20 men. He sends no men whatsoever.
They're not exactly conventional fighters. They're more suited to fighting in the swamp. So why
Apparently
would
Howland managed to kill.
Magic,
these green
magic
magic.
and nets.
Well, Howland managed to kill at least one of the King's Guard.
For all we know, I mean, yes, he helped when we know he saved Ned's life, but we don't know specifically what he did. He could have just literally stabbed
Yeah,
a guy
that's
as he was
that.
fighting off 3 other guys.
It was magic.
Am I?
7 facing 3.
Going back to what Catelyn, how she tricked Rob into making decisions and whatnot, I think that actually takes a certain amount of cunning that you only see a lot of the female characters do throughout the books. Because Sansa does very similar things as well with Joffrey.
Yeah, I think the men don't have to do it because they don't need to make it look like that someone else is giving or that they're coming up with the ideas. It's women who aren't taken seriously in this world, and they have to they have to show them that you're the smart one. Yes, you're the one who figured it out.
Just so they don't injure their pride.
Exactly. I don't see much else to say in this one. I mean, it's definitely a table setting chapter for the wars to come.
Oh, also should we mention the Sweet Robin thing, or
I mean, just
like
the
how
fact
she
that
offered to foster?
Well, as if we didn't know how crazy Lysa was, that I can imagine that asking to take her son from her is not going to go over well. All right, so now we are skipping ahead 2 chapters, and we're jumping 5 days ahead to December 30th, 298, and we are going to Ned 15. And Matt, you got this one.
Almost New Year's Eve, and Eddard decided to book himself a room in the 4 Seasons of the Red Keep. There is no window, no bed, not even a slop bucket. It smelled like piss and shit, which is great. He's just like chilling there. He remembers Maegor the Cruel he's like, oh, I don't even want to know how deep of a dungeon I'm in, because he remembers Maegor the Cruel and how he murdered all the Masons. He damned them all, he says. Littlefinger, Jaina Slint, the Goldcloaks, the Queen, the Kingslayer, Pycelle, Varys, Sir Barristan, and even Lord Renly. And he said, fool. Thrice damn blind fool. And yeah, basically that's him saying, oh fuck, I really fucked this up. And he remembers that when Cersei says, when he played the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, and he lost. He was in and out of consciousness, but he dreamt of dreams of blood and broken promises. Broken promises, John. And he wondered whether or not he would ever see Cat again. And he would not. He started going crazy and building castles of hope, he says. Robert's brothers were out in the world raising armies in Dragonstone and Storm's End. Alan and Harwin would return to King's Landing with the rest of his household guard once they dealt with Sir Gregor. They would not. Catelyn would raise the north, and when the word reached her, and the lords of the river and mountain and vale would join her. The Vale would not.
Just from a baseball point of view,
Like
he's
the entire
2 for 7 for those predictions. So he did get 2 hits in those 7 predictions he made as to what's going on.
Which is better than even like meteorologists. Like they're like even like they're trying to predict shit. They don't know.
And technically, he's right about about Renly and Stannis mustering, but they're mustering to fight each other. So that cancels them out.
Right. So he starts hallucinating, and he sees Robert, and he's like, "Look at us, Ned. Gods, how did we come to this? You here and me killed by the pig. We won the throne together." And he's like, oh, fuck, I fucked you over. And then he sees him in his fever dreams, and his fissures are opening and spilling out fluid. And then he rips off his face, and Littlefinger's there doing like what the black guy does in Green Mile, where all the moths like fly out of his mouth.
John
so,
Coffey.
yeah.
Reference.
Thank you. So he thinks it was the year of the false spring, and he was 18 again. Down from the Eyrie to the tourney of Harrenhal, he could see the deep green of the grass and smell the pollen in the wind, warm days and cool nights, and the sweet taste of wine. He remembered Brandon's laughter and Robert's berserk valor in the melee, the way he laughed as he unhorsed men left and right. He remembered Jaime Lannister, a golden youth in scaled white armor, kneeling on the grass in front of the king's pavilion and making his vows to protect and defend King Aerys. Afterwards, Sir Oswell went, helped Jaime to his feet, and the White Bull himself, Lord Commander Gerald Hightower, fastened the snowy cloak of the Kingsguard to his shoulders. All 6 white swords were there to welcome their newest brother. Okay, so who died to allow Jaime to get in?
Was it Harlan Grandison? Didn't the guy that died in his sleep, or no?
Only you would know, Greg.
I don't know.
No one else remembers Harlan
think
Granderson,
so.
the sleeping
Don't
lion?
think
The
he's...
sleeping lion. Yeah. I think it was him.
That's it. Okay, and I'm just going to continue to read this. Yeah, when the jousting began, the day belonged to Rhaegar Targaryen. The crown prince wore the armor he would die in, gleaming black plate and 3-headed dragon of his house wrought in rubies on his breast. A plume of scarlet silk streamed behind him when he rode, and it seemed no lands could touch him. Brandon fell to him, Bronze Ron Joyce, and even Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning.
Oh no.
Yeah, no.
What happens next,
And
man?
then-
What happens next?
Well, Robert had been jesting with Jon and old Lord Hunter as the prince circled the field after unhorsing Sir Barristan in the final tilt to claim the champion's crown. Ned remembered the moment when all the smiles died, when Prince Rhaegar Targaryen urged his horse past his own wife, the Dornish princess Elia Martell, to lay the Queen of Beauty's laurel on Lyanna's lap. He could see it still, a crown of winter roses, blue as frost. Come on. I mean, that's great shit right there.
Oh, all the flashbacks are great. That's probably my favorite stuff from the whole book is this and the Tower of Joy.
It's good stuff. You also get to see in this chapter George's obvious proclivities as a horror writer, with the mad images of of faces cracking and moths and everything. It's very well described.
I'm just gonna say I was 100% correct about Harlan Grandison, so
Yeah.
suck it.
And that does show an old dude on the Kingsguard just dying because of he's being old.
By the way, who's John? John. He said like he was talking with John, and then it doesn't give a last name. It's just like he's talking to John and
John
Maud.
Aaron.
John Aaron.
Oh, John Aaron! Oh!
Yeah.
Okay, then. I was like, what the hell? Okay.
How is he talking to John?
I know, I thought, because it was a dream, I thought, wait, is he talking to his son in the dreams? It was all a dream.
No. Ned never thinks about John in his thoughts. Ned, like, says fuck all about John.
Yeah, no,
But he
He
does.
mentions John here.
I
He says
know,
he
I
He
does
does,
shit.
yeah.
I know.
No, go ahead, Nadia.
Matt has to read the rest of this chapter
He's guilty
out.
about John, which is why he tries not to think about him.
Wait, why does he try not to?
Because he feels guilty, you're
Because he
saying?
feels very guilty
Oh, yeah, I think
about
so, yeah.
something, which
Yeah.
he doesn't mention.
Promise or something
Some
stupid.
broken
Yeah.
promise, which I don't know what that could be.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for the theory podcast, which
King John.
is coming soon.
So anyway, he's still there, like fever dreaming the shit out of the place. Like some guy brings him water every day, and then one day a guy brings him a thing of wine, and it turns out to be Varys. And he tells him that the younger girl escaped Sir Meryn and fled. But
I don't
they
think he
never
says
say
the
it.
younger girl. I don't think that's how he describes Arya.
No, that is literally exactly how he describes Arya.
Does he really?
Yes, I underlined
Yeah,
that
I'm
too.
reading from the book like right now.
Wow, dude.
I like how they didn't mention anything about Syria. Maybe he's still alive.
Because, yeah, he's alive, guys. I mean, that's canon.
Yeah.
Excuse me, why is this canon?
Because it is.
Does.
Why would he mention Syria? He didn't mention every other Stark guardsman that died. He didn't start calling their names out. Like, it's just some nothing loon who like, I'm going to fight the Kingsguard with a wooden stick.
Yeah, Varys.
Like, why would you mention the local lunatic?
Just so.
Just so. So Varys says, the young girl escaped Sir Meryn and fled, Varys told him. I've not been able to find her, nor have the Lannisters. A kindness there. Our new king loves her not. Your older girl is betrothed to Joffrey. Cersei keeps a close watch on her. So that's awesome.
I trust you realize that you are a dead man. Or Lord Eddard. That's one of my favorite lines in the chapter.
Oh, I'm getting to it. Come on, man.
Come on, I'm trying to move it along. Sorry, I thought you were done with that.
No, we got more. We got more. Keep going, man.
You're just going to read the entire
Right.
chapter out?
Yeah. So Ned asks, can you free me? He's like, and Varys is like, I could, but will I? No, I don't know. I don't think so. Everything will come back to me, and like I have no fucking defense here at all. Which is why, like, I couldn't defend you when all the gold cloaks killed your Ben. He's like, we have no honor. We have no scruples. We're just gonna like try to swim along like the merlings that we are.
Yes.
Sorry, Greg.
I'm making a mess of it. Just continue.
The VOK style. Let's make a mess of it and then continue. So, Varys says that for 15 years he protected Robert from his enemies, but he couldn't protect him from his friends. And then Ned's like, oh, man, I totally had mercy over the Lannister kids. And Varys is like, oh, that's nice. Look where you are with all your mercy. That's why I don't have any. They talk about Stannis and Renly, the Iron Gauntlet, and the Silk Glove, which, come on, man. Like, Renly may be gay, but Silk Glove? Like, why can't he also be an Iron Gauntlet? Like, he had a bigger army.
But he's not a seasoned warrior.
Why can't he be an Iron Gauntlet?
They say that Cersei's really kind of scared about Robert's brothers, Stannis in particular, because hold on, Greg.
I wasn't saying anything.
Well, no, just so you're ready for this. Lord Stannis in particular, his claim on is the true one. He's known for his prowess as a battle commander, and he's utterly without mercy. Boom.
Such a
The crowd goes wild.
Damn straight.
But what's the next sentence, Matt?
And I was muted the whole time.
There's no creature on earth half so terrifying as a truly just man.
Yeah, so.
Boom. And then Varys actually says, I believe she will allow you to take the black and live your days out on the wall. So it was never promised, right? that he'd actually get to go to the wall?
It's basically, I mean, that's what they want to do, and like this is just like him saying, you just gotta toe the line. I feel like regardless of what he did, if he just was like, I'm not gonna recant, I'm just gonna shut up, they would have probably just said to the wall. But Joffrey, they couldn't afford to kill him. They would have kept him or sent him to the wall.
You're right, though, Matt. No contract was signed. It probably wouldn't hold up in court if it had a grievance there.
So
they didn't say the words.
Ned asks, "Are you in league with Littlefinger?" End quote. That seemed to amuse the eunuch. I would sooner wed the black goat of Qohor. Littlefinger is the second most devious man in the Seven Kingdoms. Oh, I feed him choice whispers, sufficient so he thinks I am his, just as I allow Cersei to believe I am hers.
Wait, is this in this chapter?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then later,
I hope so.
And then later, Ned says, "Varys, gods have mercy. Do as you like with me, but leave my daughter out of your schemes. Sansa's no more than a child. Rhaenys was a child too. Prince Rhaegar's daughter."
Yes.
Mm.
Huh? Come on,
She
Ned.
died.
Anything? Figure?
You're talking about the cat?
No, but he only brings up the daughter. Well, yes, they also bring up the black kitten. But my point is,
yes,
they don't bring up the
I just
son.
got your point, Matt. I was like, what is your point are you making?
Yeah.
Oh, that he didn't mention the actual, Aegon. Okay.
He wasn't like Aegon.
All right, so that's proof that Phaegon is Aegon then, right?
It's not proof. He was just making a metaphor.
Yeah, he was just comparing Sansa to Rhaegar's daughter, Ned's daughter
Exactly.
to Rhaegar's daughter.
Yeah. It's not proof.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he mention the son?
There was no reason to. It's not relevant to the point he's making.
So discuss, I guess.
I have a quick question, actually. What is the significance of the black kitten? Because don't they mention that cat roaming around the King's Landing for a bit, like in
that's
book 2?
That's the cat that Ned works into.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's the cat that Arya chases around, and it used to be. It's just like a little like. I don't know, hinty plot minor thing that
it's
George
a
has.
thread that connects, the end of that war to the beginning of this war.
And into that cat, but anyway.
That cat also hates Lannisters.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I know. It ruined like Tywin's dinner like one of the few times he came to the capital.
So,
a point in its favor.
I mean, my main point in like that, like Rhaenyra's thing was like he only brought up Rhaenyra's.
Yeah, like we were saying before, I
Aegon.
think that it's just because he was making a comparison to Sansa. I mean, maybe he's obfuscating the fact that Aegon was around and that he existed, but I think it was just because he was making a comparison.
Yeah, like I think we were talking before, like a little last time, and then on the forums, like Aegon wasn't conceived at this point in the writing, but like it is kind of an interesting little bit there.
Right. Why wouldn't you say Rhaenyra's and Aegon were
Maybe
both
because
children?
He's talking about daughters. Maybe it's like because they're talking about Eddard's daughters and then Rhaegar's daughter. Like maybe it's nothing more than that. But yeah, it does seem like in
I
hindsight
do understand
now
both
it
sides. It kind of makes a little sense on both sides, but we all want because we always want more information and we want to something's up with Aegon or Phaegon, and we're looking anywhere we can for clues. And I don't know if this is actually a clue or it could just be like you said.
It could be a convenience. It just fits later on.
It's probably not.
Yeah, so, we have Varys' The Realm speech, I only want peace. He basically gets Ned to agree. Well, not officially to agree that he'll admit it, but he lays out that if he doesn't, Sansa's going to die.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion like a million times, but do we believe Varys here that he's just doing it for the realm?
For his version of the realm?
I reckon he's doing it for the greater good of mankind.
He does have the great line of, like, who suffers... When you guys play your Game of Thrones, like, the children, like the innocents.
Children and the small folk.
Small folk.
Yeah, isn't it like, why do the innocents always suffer when you high lords play your Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think he's no Septon, obviously, but at the same time, like, I think a lot of people view him as being a bit more altruistic because I don't think that his end game is like, Emperor Varys or anything. Like, I think he does want to bring about regime change. He wants to be a part of that, but he's not benefiting anymore. Like, his position isn't going to change much from what he has, right? Like, you think he wants to be like the lord of, some great castle or anything. I don't think he cares about that.
But I think he wants to be the power behind whatever new regime is installed.
Well, I think he does because his whole like I'm only for peace, I'm only for the realm kind of falls apart in the epilogue and dance where he comes across more as a
Chaos.
as a villain, where it's like, oh, you're smoothing things over too well, Sir Kevin. Here, everything's I can't allow this to happen, and then shoot.
Wild card.
Yeah. So pretty much Varys like is all about peace and whatnot, but like who is he to say what is peaceful for the realm and what's not?
Good point.
Well,
Yeah,
the War of the Five Kings is not peaceful.
yeah, but it's still his vision of what is appropriate, and we don't. I mean, he might not be right.
I think they knew this was probably going to fall apart at some point anyway, and it's just something where they feel like they've had a better idea, and eventually these houses were all going to be at each other, and they want to put their people in the rule. But again, like for Varys, like for his situation, the realm at peace and Robert as king wasn't that much different. But before all this, Renly was trying to get Cersei replaced, and the Lannisters were this was all building up, regardless of anything, regardless of Bran falling and all this. Like this was coming to a head eventually.
Right. Well, in my chapter, Varys said that they needed to get rid of Robert because he's becoming too unruly, and I mean it's kind of interesting that I don't think that Varys, maybe Littlefinger was like, oh, we're going to get the Starks and the Lannisters to fight against each other. Varys is like, don't tell him anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
because those two don't work together as much as you think it sometimes.
Varys and Littlefinger, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, especially early on in this book, you're like, oh, well, those guys, they're doing stuff, and you're like, yeah, they're working against each other probably more than anything. They work together on a lot of minor things, but each one has their own, their hand behind their back, kind of thing.
Indeed.
I'm just going to jump in here now and say I reckon he could just be a Targaryen loyalist.
Yeah, I think that's or a Blackfire loyalist, but that's kind of the
Same
theory.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, it is the same thing because he's literally using the Blackfire armies to support a Targaryen loyalist, to the throne.
Yeah.
If Aegon is truly a Targaryen.
But it's like, to what end, for what reason? Like, I don't think he's doing it just to like, to wreck shit. Like, I think he wants to see the realm a certain way, and this is the way that I think, it's the only way to accomplish it.
Well, he wants it at peace, and that's, what he says.
But he wants it at peace and not like racking up tremendous debt and houses, all plotting to kill each other and shit.
Well, I still have to question his motives, though, because he wants peace, but he's causing a lot of chaos to get to that peace.
Yeah. Well, like when he kills Kevin and all that, like,
Well,
at that point, everything's in motion.
4 books on, but...
Yeah.
He might just want to avenge Aerys and his family. That could be the ultimate goal. I mean, Aerys gave him everything. Like, he was like some weirdo with no cock half a world away. And then, like, Aerys brings him over, gives him a position of power, puts him on, like, the ruling council that rules, like, a continent. He might just want to avenge Aerys and Rhaegar.
He's, of course, the one who does not want him to open the gates to Tywin.
Yeah, he's like begging. Yeah, he's begging him. Him and Jamie are begging him not to open the gates because Tywin's sketchy. But only Pycelle's like, open the gates.
Yeah, and I mean, like, in that situation, like, I mean, if Tywin was really there to help you, I would have said, well, turn around and go meet Robert's forces and then we'll talk, because then you're like, okay, yeah, I have your help. But
right,
but I still imagine you were
engage their forces. Then
they were wiped out. Whatever.
Wasn't there something like 8,000 men inside King's Landing at the time? Like, weren't the remnants of Rhaegar's host? Had they already regrouped at?
I don't know the numbers.
I don't think there was much left in King's Landing at that point.
I mean, you've got the gold cloaks. You've got whatever guard that they kept, in the keep. I mean, there was probably a decent amount of men for defense. If you hadn't just opened the gates, they would have stood a chance. Like a prolonged siege is probably what would have done them in. And of course, he was just going to burn everything to the ground anyway. But no one had any way of knowing that.
That was more of a last resort, though.
But yeah, he only decided to do that after Tywin started sacking the city.
But he had it all set up.
Yeah, he had it all set up.
But that was in case everything went to hell.
It's a backup plan.
Man.
Varys is just misunderstood.
I think he was waiting to push the red button on that nuke. Like,
but why would he let Tywin in the city?
Can I do it today?
Why would he let Tywin in the city then? If that's like, what does that merit? That gains him nothing, having Tywin in the city when he blows himself up.
Yeah, I know, because he thought. I'm just saying, like, he thought he would be saved. But I'm saying, as the Mad King, as mad as he was, I think he just wanted to see shit burn. I mean, he wouldn't have set that up in the first place. Like, it's a stupid thing to do, regardless, right? It's a
more
very
of a side
childish
thing
thing
to
to do. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna burn my toys, and like
I'd do it.
anyone that you care about. No, why? Like, it's stupid. If you've lost, you've lost. Like,
you've lost, but you might as well take everyone else with you. I mean, like, there's a difference between losing and then going, okay, well, you can have, like, you might as well take 500,000 people with you, apparently, according to the show.
Innocent
Might as well take them with
children.
you. Yeah, let them.
Denethor did the same thing in Lord of the Rings.
Death of my thing.
He didn't take
that's
everyone
what I'm
with
saying.
him.
It's crazy, though. Like,
Also,
And he thought he was gonna
Denethor
be-
was like literally thinking that my son's killed, my son's dying. Like, let's burn the fucker down. He knew that, you know, his wife, Viserys, and whoever newborn that turned out to be Daenerys was on Dragonstone. They were no threat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though they were
Alice was
defeated,
mad. I
a
mean,
good
Alice
half
was
of the
not.
kingdom was on their side, right?
We're trying to understand why he didn't make a rational decision, and like Nadia said, the easiest answer is that he was not in the right mind.
What is a little weird, though, is that on the other side is that Tywin, they run into the city and they just start making hell. Like, why wouldn't he run his troops right up into the keep and, you know, oh, we're taking up positions on the walls, run into the throne room, and then kill Aerys himself, and
Well,
then
because-
sack the city, right? Like,
Well, he needed to make it look like he was supporting the rebels. If he would have just started, like, you know, tactically taking the city, Ned, when he showed up, might have just gone attack. He would have just assumed the Lannisters had, like, you know, the Lannisters swore their fealty. And once blood starts being spilt, it's really hard to, like, you know, get a messenger out to, like, hey,
I
Ned,
guess-
look, let's meet up.
but yeah, like you're saying that they had to show evidence that he was against the Targaryen cause, but what I'm saying is he could have marched directly into the throne room, positioned all of his men, and then killed everyone in the city who was against them, all the Targaryen guards, everything. That would have been enough evidence. But like,
But then again-
he runs into the city, he sacks his way up to the Red Keep. A little
Well,
different.
let's not forget, Tywin is not Aerys' best friend. They are huge rivals. He wants to destroy him. That's his intention. He wants to utterly destroy Aerys. I think that's
Well,
why he's...
No, I know, but it's this,
From
it's
the
this
world
clever
of Ice
thing
and
where
Fire,
it
they
sneaks in.
were good friends.
They were, but they became hugely
but-
antagonistic.
Yeah, because he did all that stuff to him.
But just, I don't know, it always seems weird to me that, like, he sneaks in and he's like, oh, I'm here to save you. And then he, like, doesn't even wait until he gets into position to...
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
to
I
turn
don't know,
on
I'm not
it.
sure, but I think that when you boil it down, the reason he sacks the city in this way, the reason he just destroys everything is because
It's a
he
big
hated
fuck
Aerys.
you. Yeah.
But does it ever say the second the gates opened, like, the Lannisters just rushed in and started sacking it? Like, is it ever said that he didn't march up to the castle, then go, right, boys, start sacking it. You 5,000, quick, let's just knock the
Yeah, I'm
castle
not sure how
down.
clear
Rest
it
of you
is.
have fun.
It's kind of vague, but it does seem that, like, he kind of sacked his way up to the keep once he was let in.
Well, it was like Aerys was inside, like, from the Jaime chapter, like, further on, I think it's book 3, where, like, when Jaime, like, kills the Mad King had already, like, I mean, it would take a while to knock down the portcullis or whatever that is at the front of the Red Keep. It wouldn't just be open already. So that would take a few minutes. Meanwhile, the Mad King is instantly going, quick, burn the city down, quick, you go, set it on fire. And then, like, so he probably did march up there because the city would have blown up. But there would have been about an hour before anyone would have got up there, before, like, Tywin and the forces came up there. So remember, just the second after he murdered Aerys, the second after Jaime murdered Aerys, like, a bunch of Lannister knights stormed in and saw it, because otherwise he was just going to slink away and pretend he didn't do it.
So the answer is that yes, Varys is working for the realm. Okay. Moving on.
Well, hold on. I actually want to say one last thing. I actually do agree with you, Brock. I think that I think his original plan, his plan was to blow up Robert, right? That was what he wanted to do originally. I think that was the intention with it. Yeah, he wanted to blow up Robert in the city.
So, like, he would have surrendered, but then blown the city up as they were marching in victorious.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Let
Or
him
just
be
let him
king
take the
over
walls,
ashes
then
and
do it.
bones, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Well,
too many steps. Things have to go right. Like, there's no guarantee that he's still going to be in a position to give the order once.
Well, Well, he could just go to the pyromancers, look, at noon, just blow the fucker up, and then, like, I'll already be dead, whatever. I'll hold the keep. It'll take about an hour to hold the keep. You guys get in position, just blow the fucker up at noon.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's the only thing. Just pick a time, say blow it up then. All you do is hide in Magles, hold fast, and just let it blow. That's all you got to do. Probably take an hour to, like...
Yeah, because he had said, like, let him be king of ashes, or whatever. So he
Exactly,
was
yeah.
ready to.
It was like ashes and burnt bones and roasted flesh, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely Robert he was targeting to do this stuff. Yeah.
Right, and you see that in the House of the Undying, and you see that in Jaime's POV, and that's why Jaime actually killed him. So, and they're like, "Yay, Jaime's a good guy." Actually, what?
Well, he's he's a good guy, but it's he had to do
He's
bad
got
thing.
issues. He's not perfect.
Right.
Still a filthy
He's
traitor.
not perfect. No,
Killing the king
he
you're
just
sworn to
threw
protect
a-
is a bad thing, no matter what. Like,
He just threw a 7-year-old out the window.
Yeah, not a big deal.
It's tough to forget that.
Yeah, but he was sparing more people, though.
Jamie's a gray character. Oh yeah, but he pushed the kid out the window. Yeah.
he's like, I could have sworn there was a bale of hay. I saw it coming up.
He thought so.
It's on the other side. It's my bad.
I was banging
For
my
love.
sister. I
Love is
pushed
good.
this kid out of the window. What's wrong?
But even
Well, he
what's
was-
funny is later on is Cersei was like, I didn't want you to do that. That was the wrong move. He's like, fuck, I just did it because I thought that's what you wanted. Like,
Well, he was saving more lives by doing that. Imagine if the kid would have just run downstairs and gone, "Oh my god, I saw the queen fucking a brother," and then Robert's like, "Did you now?" And then there would have been 4 heads on the. There would have been 5 heads on the wall before
But I think
the sunset.
Cersei was confident that she could shut him up, or that she could they'd find a way around it or something. She's so full of
I
herself.
doubt that. I can't
And of course,
doubt
also,
Wait a minute.
if
How is it 5
Cersei-
heads?
She's because he's gonna kill the kid.
Jaime-
Like,
Yeah, Jaime, Cersei, and the 3 kids.
And of course, if that had happened and it had been wrapped up that simply, more lives would have probably been spared if there had been no war. And yeah,
And why kill the
Tywin wasn't going to let that shit go. Tywin would have marched
just picture
instantly.
Robert. Look, Tommen, mommy did a bad thing. Sorry. And
Oh, I said 6 heads because Tyrion would have been up there as well. Sorry, I forgot about that.
If the kids are bastards, though, what's the politically? What's the benefit to killing them? They don't have a claim to anything.
Dude, he would be fucking pissed. Imagine
He'd be
that. Your
pissed.
heir,
Right.
your acknowledged heir,
Right.
your wife's been cucking you for 13 years. You would snap. Or he would snap. Why would you? But
You would
he
kill her and Jaime, but you also believe these kids to be yours. And if Robert's not a completely soulless, piece of shit.
That's what it-
that's where it falls
Nice.
apart, Adam. That's where it falls apart. He would kill them.
Because Ned even says that's why he was giving Cersei the chance to leave the city because Ned actually thought that Robert would kill the kids or would.
No, I know. It's
Right.
just in his
Sure.
rage or
Actually
whatever.
says it's like the gift of mercy.
Yeah.
for
I
the
don't
mercy
doubt
of
that
the
he
kids.
would. It feels like maybe he wouldn't. I don't know.
We hope
Oh,
he
he-
wouldn't.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you want to believe that he's that same guy from what's that movie that he was in where they all stripped. I don't remember.
Full Monty.
The full Monty.
Oh, Monty, that's right. Yeah, you want to believe he's that same young stripper with the heart of gold.
On
Did you
that
ever even see
Oh my
that movie?
God.
Have you watched that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
On that note, we shall move on to Tyrion VII, which
Yes.
is December 30th, 298, and this is the same day as Ned's chapter. And Adam, you've got the recap for this?
Oh damn, that's me. I forgot. Yeah, all right. No, I'm prepared. So, Tyrion's making his way down from the mountains with his mountain men. Let's see, they've got some storm crows, some burn men, some black ears. They got who else they got? They got the Moon Brothers. They're doing pretty good.
They've got the full Monty.
They've got the full Mountie. Anyway, that was a bad one. So, I forgot how much I loved a lot of these characters, especially because in the show they're so abbreviated. But, every time I reread through, Chella and Shaga and Timett, and you're like, oh, man, you're like, yeah, those guys, again, because they disappear so quickly. But
They're so good.
yeah. Anyway, so they're coming down the mountain to make good on his promise to bring them weapons and arm them, because that's how he kept his life, him and Bronn. And they discover that Lord Tywin is camped out at the Inn at the Crossroads, which is kind of funny, and this is where shit just starts to go bad for the Inn at the Crossroads, because he killed everyone that was there and this is so shitty. Tywin's such a douche. Everyone at that inn is somehow responsible because a large party of armed men absconded with his son, and I'm sure they immediately sent word hey, let him know what happened. And you're telling me that the bartender and the old cook and whoever was there, who probably can't even hold a sword, is responsible for that shit?
But they
It's
didn't
not a
try to
castle.
help. So they didn't try to help
They
Tyrion.
couldn't.
They couldn't, yeah, but that's the thing. Like they couldn't, but they still should have tried in Tywin's eyes.
Yeah, that's
You're either with the Lannisters or you're against them. They showed that they were against the Lannisters.
They tried to help by being like, "Hey, some shit just went down." It was like,
No. She's like, "Oh no, don't kill him here. Kill him somewhere else. I don't want any deaths here." That's what she exactly said when it happened. So she's clearly.
I mean, maybe that word gets back to him, but what I'm saying is, most likely they sent word right away that like, "Hey, Tyrion's been taken." Like, they probably sent word directly to him as fast as they could. So I think they did a pretty good job, like all things considered. Anyway, Tyrion enters the meeting hall, and we find Lord Tywin, who is bald with his giant whiskers, and we meet Sir Kevin finally, who, let's see, I forget, like, he's like more stout, I guess we'll say.
He's described as a portly man in the book.
Yeah,
in that chapter, actually.
He's lovable old Kevin, but we don't really know enough about him at this point. Tyrion's wondering what the fuck is going on, and when he learns that Ned's been imprisoned, he wonders why Robert would allow that. This is when he learns that Robert is fucking dead. We learn that Jaime has besieged River Run. Basically, that's done because Edmure's an idiot and went and attacked Jaime and got himself got.
We don't know that at this point, do we? He hasn't actually gone out and done the sortie or whatever and got caught yet, has he? It's just Vance and Piper that were beaten, I think, at this point. But
you mean
Edmure has been taken captive.
Yeah, I accidentally mentioned that back in the cat chapter, but it's actually in this chapter where it's mentioned that Edmure was taken.
Right. Yeah.
And they have River Run under siege now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. Tywin's his usual douchey self, and he wants to pawn Tyrion off to go kind of just hang around the back and maybe go hunt down this guy named Beric and that other guy named Thoros.
Or Derek, or Eric, whatever his name may be.
Tyrion has a surprise, and before he can do it, in burst the mountain men, like a bunch of untrained goats. And I think Tywin actually handles this pretty well, because they just burst in, and, you know, Tywin could have easily sicked the guards on them, tried to kill them, whatever. And, you know, this situation gets assessed. Tyrion explains, hey, I owe these guys some shit, and they're going to fight for me. I brought some shit to your cause, so I can handle my own shit. And Tywin's like, all right, whatever, you know, more people to die. He doesn't really seem to care, but he's like, yeah, give these guys some shit and be on their way.
No, it was very deftly handled by Tywin.
Yeah, I think because he could have been like, what the fuck, get out of here, I don't know you.
Well, it took me by surprise is how he actually treats them with respect, and I think he actually took the mountain men by surprise.
And because
they're not used to being treated that way.
He played to their pride a little bit too, because when they're talking about the, one of them was like not wanting to fight so much, or so. I'm trying to remember now, but then he mentions like, oh well, a lot of people are afraid of those mighty northern warriors. I guess you guys can't handle it, sort of thing. And they're like, oh, wait, fuck you, fuck
wherever
you.
Wherever the Burnmen go, the Stone Crows have been there first.
Actually, none of them ever said we don't want to fight. One of them's like, why do we need your promise when we already have your sons? The weapons are ours already. Like, why do we need to go fight the guys? And he's like,
but yeah, they're non-committal, basically. They're kind of like,
why would you want to get wrapped up in that?
And Tywin's like, well, I kind of need these people to be beholden to me because fuck Tyrion. Like, what the,
Also, I figure he's thinking, if 500 of you get killed in this battle, it's 500 less, helms and lances I've got to give you people. So
yeah, and and hopefully less of his men that die.
Yeah, exactly.
So these people are free, basically. He doesn't have to feed them or clothe them or anything. Like, they just want some weapons, and he's probably got plenty of that from dead men. So why not?
So, what do you guys think of Tywin in this chapter?
Oh wait, the last thing is like they refuse to go anywhere without Tyrion. So he has to lead them into battle because he's not going to get
until they get paid for what's due to them.
He's not going to get out of that shit. So half man and all that shit.
Yeah, I think on the scope of Tywin being an asshole to Tyrion, this is very low on the scale. Like, the big stuff is obviously like Tysha and all that. I don't think this chapter really is the condemning Tywin for being awful to Tyrion chapter.
Yeah, that is pretty brutal.
So, anything else major for this chapter? I mean, it's kind of like the Tyrion version of what Kat's doing with Rob's camp. We kind of get the setup for from both sides of it.
The next Tyrion chapter is a lot better.
Oh, we also find out here that the Mountain Clansmen, they're a republic, they're a democracy. They each believe that everyone should give their voice before they pick what to do.
They're not just a democracy; they're a direct democracy.
Even the women.
Yeah.
Even the women.
I was going to say they even have suffrage.
Yeah, pretty cool. Those Mountain Clans, so progressive.
Yeah, but they're probably really dirty.
And nothing gets done though. That like Tyrion does make a good point.
People, like, come on.
No, but Tyrion does make a good point. That's why they haven't been a threat to the Vale in like 1,000 years. It's because they have to come to like a consensus about what to do. And if everyone's like, no, I reckon we should attack this castle, they just become like savage peasants that have nothing because like there's no direct leader that can do something useful for a change.
We also know that Chilla has no sense of humor because when Tyrion calls her a fair maid, she goes, "I'm no maid. My sons have taken 50 years among them." I was trying to do you a favor, lady.
It's a pretty backhanded compliment, though. It's not like...
Oh, I know, but still, probably should have gone along with it.
Sure.
And we know that another point in Stannis' favor that what is Tywin truly worried about? He's worried about getting back to the city so he can defend it from Stannis.
How much does Tywin know about, like, Renly and everything at this point? I wonder, like, who has the army, who has the power? Because if he knew Renly had the 100,000 men, I think he'd be more worried about him at that point.
Yeah, I think so, too.
On your first read-through, like, all these mentions of Stannis, and then when we get him in the next book, like, did you guys sort of have an image of him of, like, Wyatt Earp in Tombstone, and it's like, hell's coming, and, like, you just thought he was just going to ride in, kind of, like, blaze of glory and just bowl over everyone?
I'm here,
I love that picture.
Huckleberry.
You're Huckleberry. Oh, can we start the great Song of Ice and Fire Tombstone comparison?
Davos is Huckleberry here. Davos could never talk like that, though. He's too proper.
What?
He's too, like, stuck up.
Oh,
Davos
Davos,
stuck up,
like the peasants who like used to eat rats.
No, like I don't mean like proper, like, royal in the sense, but just sort of like, he's like, my lord, Stannis is like, he's very reverential, I guess I'd say.
All right, Daenerys. I mean, there's some bad stuff happening here in this chapter here.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. December 31st, New Year's Eve, great time, 298. So we're finally almost out of this year.
We're about to party like it's $2.99.
Yeah, there we go. So we join Daenerys as she rides through a broken Lazarene village, the work of Khal Ogo and then Drogo, who defeated Ogo and his son Fogo. Dany meets Jorah, who offers to escort her to the call, but she is stalled by the sound of a Lazarene woman being raped. After a short internal struggle, Dany commands Jorah and her cause to put a stop to it and to end every rape that they see. She claims each woman they save as her own. They eventually reach Drogo, and Dany worries over his chest wound, but the call says that it is merely a scratch. A blood rider named Mago arrives and complains that Dany has stolen his spoils of war. Dany explains the situation, and Drogo supports her, delighted by her fierceness, a sure sign that she is carrying the stallion who mounts the world. It's clear that Drogo's wound is worse than he claims, and Dany searches for someone to tend him. One of the women she saved, Amiri Mazdur, says that she was trained by the mages of Ashai, the moon singers of the Jogos Nai, and even a maester of the citadel named Marwyn. Drogo agrees to let her tend him. She does so with strange Lazarene songs and a plaster of wet leaves. Dany asks that the healer attend to the birth of her son, with her time soon coming. Kotho, one of Drogo's blood riders, warns the Magi that she will fare as well as the call, and Miri Mazdur agrees. So there you go, Daenerys.
Does she really name Marwyn?
She does name Marwyn. Well,
She does.
She does after Jorah asks to confirm that it was actually a maester.
Right, a maester with chains and...
Mm-hmm. She does say his name was Marwyn, so...
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
The seeds being planted this early.
Yeah, wow.
So yes, Khal Drogo is wounded, and he basically allows himself to be healed by Miri Mazdur. Did anyone else think that in using her potions and everything that she did something to him now, or do you think she genuinely healed him and like she just knew that he wasn't going to listen to her advice as to keeping him?
Clearly poisoning him.
Yeah, I mean, she expressly tells him not to drink wine, which is exactly what he does.
Right.
Yeah, but you'd like, if you're going to poison a guy in like the middle of his army of 40,000 raping lunatics, you wouldn't go, oh yeah, no, like you'll be right in about a week. You'd go, no, don't drink wine. Why would wine affect anything from a mud thing on his chest?
Well, but it could because like your blood thinning your blood or something. I don't know. Like
she was clearly poisoning him from the start.
Back then, but
it was all clearly poisoning him from the start because she points out like when she makes him a vegetable, she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I did it. I'm a bit of a bitch, but guess what? Your little husband killed everyone I ever knew. I'd been raped a bunch of times. The temple where I worshipped and was a priestess at was torched. Of course I'm going to do this.
No, I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying this early on.
Oh, yeah, I reckon this early on. I would have done it this... Yeah, sorry.
Well,
I reckon it was this early on.
If she's, like, just suicide mission and she thinks this is her only chance, maybe. But, like... Would she have had everything prepared well enough? Would she, like, I don't know.
She was told to go get your potions, wasn't she?
It seems like she earnestly tries to help him, you know?
I'm saying she could have known that he wouldn't have listened anyway, so she could have just healed him and known that he was going to, not listen.
But that's too much of a gamble, though. Like, it's like he might go, shit, I'm dying. I better do what this weird, like, woman said to do.
Well, yeah.
Like, how did she know?
He needs to rest and keep the wound clean and all this stuff, it's just basic stuff.
Yeah, like what smart people do,
he doesn't care.
But Daenerys convinces him to go through with it, though. So, like, I'd be thinking, well, yeah, no, he's clearly, like, if he's gone this far, let like, an enemy just start healing him. Like, the day after, like, no, the same day that half his army had raped her. Of course she's going to, like, why would she bother doing that, though? And she was so smug up until she was set
fired. To save her own life? I mean, a lot of people are motivated, self-preservation. But if you refuse to help, you're dead. And if you kill him, but if you kill him, they're going to figure it out, and you're dead.
But she does do that, and then when she gets burnt, she's incredibly smug up until the fire hits her. So she knew she could have tried to escape all the Dothraki, while there were just old men guarding her, and like people like too young to like have a braid, and those who stayed with Daenerys. But she didn't. So she clearly didn't give a fuck about dying. She was totally okay with that. Because remember, she was like, all right until the fire hit her. She was like, yeah, whatever. She wasn't begging for her life. She only started to scream once the fire hit her. She only started to plead.
To be fair, though, she eventually does fix Drogo. To be fair.
Yeah, she literally
his body.
She asked her to
anyway.
Yeah, this is a genie loophole type of situation.
Didn't she warn Dany that she would have to take a life to save Drogo?
Yeah,
but she thought it was
the horse. She's like, bring me your horse. The horse will do.
Yeah.
So it was basically like everything that he wasn't supposed to do, he did. And so he had this poultice that would have healed him, and he wasn't supposed to drink, and he wasn't supposed to touch the poultice, and he drank it. He drank, and he ripped the poultice off because it hurt him, and yeah. I think he was okay to be healed, and then
I don't think you can rule definitively either way on whether or not he was poisoned. I think there's arguments to make on both.
And I think part of it is like a little bit of like book and show like bleed together, right? Because the show
it's much more clear in the show. It's more clear that he's poisoned in the show. But yeah, one of the things that always really bothered me about this chapter is why not just use the Baron woman and the eunuch slaves? Like, he says he sent them away, but why not just bring them back now that Dany is like, we need someone to heal them? Why do you need to trust this person who has dubious loyalty that may or may not be the right person for the job? These guys are like, they might not be perfect, but they've done this thing before. They can cauterize the wound or give him whatever shit they give him. Like, why can't they just use them? I never understood that.
Because Daenerys is an idiot, and she said, no, it has to be her. She's the closest person. A sketchy person I've just met.
Yeah, she wants to trust this person.
Well,
she was a maester trained.
And she's thinking...
Also, Drogo doesn't want to show weakness. He's doing the good general thing.
All right, but if he's going to agree to...
healed first.
If he's going to agree to be... tended to by anybody, why not just bring the people that do it back? If he agrees to do it with Mirri Maz Duur, why not those people? Like, I never understood that.
No, yeah, that's a good point.
He's also not the brightest bulb in the bunch. Like, he's a bit of an idiot.
But I guess it's mostly to do with Dany. Clearly, like, she's the one that's insistent, and she's just saved this woman's life and thinks,
right. She's
good and
right. She's idealistic, and that resume was really impressive sounding. The Jogo's Nye and the Shy and a Maester, like, she must be really good.
Especially now we know about the Jogo's Nye.
They don't exactly get degrees that they can carry around.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what she's mentioning here, even Jorah, like, that is his way of testing her. Is he asks her, what did the Maester wear? Or, even though he's like, what did he wear? Like, obviously it was a leading question. But, no, she passed the test, and she's playing the second she meets Dany, she starts to play up to her that she's not Dothraki, she's from Westeros. She's playing the whole Maester thing, and I was taught from this, and in Dany's eyes, Maesters are, that's where the knowledge is, and that's what she wants the best for her man, is to use what she knows is best.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense from Dany's point of view why she'd be convinced so easily, and it's the fact that she's naive. I mean, it's not a good choice, I don't think.
Well, how many bad choices does she make?
Exactly,
in this chapter?
exactly.
She's trusting everybody.
Right.
Yeah, and the entire.
I'm just saying, if I were Drogo, I'd be like, wait, if we're gonna do this, let's get the guys we know that can do this, not the person that everyone around is spitting, saying this magi, this beast, this monster. Like, why would we let her do it first? I don't know. I guess he trusts.
That's
her.
because you're rational, mate. Like you
Yeah, I don't know.
think, like Khal Drogo's a bit of an idiot. Just wanted to shut his wife up. He didn't care about the cut.
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm
he's
boss."
got Robert syndrome, right? He just like doesn't care.
And also, this early on, I don't think we have the whole world map in our heads, when we mention Ashai or whatever, but they're literally like 50 miles away from Meereen, which Dany's going to be spending quite a lot of time in later on in the series. And at one point, Jorah is actually trying to convince Drogo to go to Meereen this early on, which is another little hint of something that comes back later on.
You know how she makes an alliance with the Lazarene, and dance. Why on earth would they want her make an alliance with this woman who was present, her husband raped and pillaged his way across their region of the world and killed a fair few villagers at the very least.
Yeah, but that happens all the time.
And plus, there's many.
Yeah, but so recently though,
Exactly.
it happened a year ago.
Probably have a lot of different tribes and.
Plus protection, right? I mean, they
She didn't offer them
she's got
protection.
the dragons and.
She gave them money for food.
Yeah, but
She's we'll be an alliance. I'll give you some gold. Because she sent Daria up there. That was the only good decision she made in that book. She sent Daria up there instead of the Dothraki.
But if they're allied with the Dragon Queen, that's that can't hurt.
Dragon Queen that has 5 armies outside her walls and is massively useless, and also is
not that up on
completely
things.
dishonest. She's massively dishonest.
But she does have dragons.
Also, at this point, she doesn't have dragons at all.
Yes, you tend to listen to the person with the dragons. That is a very good point, Matt.
You've never seen the dragon.
Thank you.
It's like saying.
Matt, we weren't talking about right now. We were talking about in dance, so that's why we were talking about dragons. But
Yeah, but our chapters now, we don't have dragons at all.
True. Very true.
But we do have Lazarene people in the chapter, and that's where it came from.
Yes. There's always the vague comparison between the Lazarene and Christianity. The mentions of the flock and the worshiping the lamb. But it's not super overt, but they do say all men are one flock, or so we are taught.
Super vague. Super loose.
Just the lamb. It's basically just the lamb connection.
Yeah.
Anything else here? I feel like we spent a lot of time on the first chapter and then we breezed through the others, but the last couple, they're all these are really the setups for the last chapter for everybody, because we only have one more podcast worth for this book, right? Or 2 more?
Let's see. Yeah,
probably.
We get into Clash on the episode 14, so we haven't
Two episodes there.
Really?
I know. Wait, what one are we? Are we 11 or 12?
This is 12.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Yeah, this is 12. Next is 13, and then 14 we get into Clash, but we still aren't finished with Game of Thrones
because it's a linear reread.
Yeah, we're not finished until 16, 15, 16.
I haven't looked that far ahead. I mean, yes, of course I have, because I'm a great host. I know what's going on. Any final thoughts for these chapters? I just have one, because we're trying to focus on why these chapters are written in this way. And when Sansa's chapter ends, you would expect it to go directly to a Ned chapter, because it's off to Ned. But even though there is a Ned chapter next, there's actually 5 days between the end of Sansa's chapter and the beginning of Ned's chapter. So they obviously. Maybe that was all spent in Ned's fever dream, but it was weird that there was a lot of time went by between the end of that chapter and the beginning of Ned. All right, let's wrap up this chapter before we get into anything else. Anything else for the final chapter?
Daenerys, idiot, yeah.
Yeah, bad decision. Everyone's making bad. Who's making good decisions at this point?
Tywin?
Making good decisions, except for Tywin. Yeah, the quote unquote bad guys.
Gendry, I don't know.
Stannis sort of makes good decisions sometimes.
Right.
Always.
Stop.
I'm a Stannis realist. He's got his problems. He does not always make good decisions.
Yeah, he shouldn't have gone north.
No. All right, stop that.
Massive bad.
All right, well, thank you for joining us for part 12. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for Brock and to David, our new listeners. I hope you continue to join us in future podcasts.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally tubular, guys.
Tubular?
Tubular. Oh, no, we should...
We don't have to pay royalties.